I'm gonna drill a couple holes through the bracket and the angle iron. Now with the holes matched up, I'll be able to cut the spot welds off and remove the bracket. Alongside that, I'm also gonna be drilling a couple more holes through the angle iron. These are gonna be studs for some mounting clamps I'm gonna make. And I'm gonna tap all the holes in the angle iron because I'm actually gonna cut the bolt heads off and then weld them flat. That's what's gonna make these bolts studs, and they're gonna look sick. With that all done, I'm gonna finish up the welding and then do a little bit of grinding action and make this thing look beautiful. Now we need something to clamp the radiator down to make sure it doesn't move. Something that will bolt to our additional studs. And behold, the radiator mount greatness. Holy shit, this thing freaking looks sick. All these mounting brackets turned out freaking awesome. So basically what all these brackets do, these ones will keep the radiator from coming out, and then this little one up here will prevent the radiator from sliding forward when you're braking hard. As for holding it in, it stays pretty stable. You can kind of lift this side up a slight bit, but I think once we add the foam or rubber in here and get this thing so it doesn't really move around at all. But overall, I'm super freaking happy on how this turned out. This has to be one of the most awesomest things that I've ever fabricated. And since it is bare metal, we're gonna need some kind of rust protection on it. And instead of paint, I'm thinking of powder coating it. And that is precisely what we're gonna do. And not just the radiator mount, but also the fuel cell mount and all of its brackets. It's gonna give an incredibly durable finish and resist most chemicals, which is gonna be good in case we have any fuel spillage. But regardless, I think these mounts deserve it. All right, I basically got everything set up and ready to powder coat. All our pieces have been sanded and cleaned, and they're pretty much ready to get sprayed. This is gonna be my spray booth. Don't mind the setup, it's nothing special. It's just some random stuff that I put together so that it was tall enough to be off the ground. I'm using this Eastwood powder coating gun. I got it set at about 20 PSI. You spray, the wind's blowing pretty bad, so I need to keep that in mind. And then while you're spraying, you press this button, that activates the electrode in the gun, sends all the charged particles to the piece of metal that you're coating, and then it grounds through a grounding cable right there. And it plugs into your standard 110 plug-in and uses your air compressor. As for the oven, you guys have probably seen this in the shop before. I actually made this oven with parts from this Whirlpool kitchen oven. I pretty much gutted an oven that I bought off Marketplace for really cheap. Built this thing all with tube steel and galvanized steel sheets. It's all fully insulated and everything. I haven't really finished the top of it. Look inside here. I already got the fuel cell mount preheating. It's recommended to preheat to 200 degrees before you start powder coating. And once I get the part all baked up, this is gonna be the drying rack. Pretty fancy. So I'm not gonna lie, there's not a whole lot of skill in powder coating. You're not gonna get any runs in it like paint, and you can't really spray too much powder on it. The only times I mess up when powder coating is not putting enough powder on it, or when I accidentally touch the electrode and shock myself. But once it's coated, pop it in the oven. See you later. We'll let it bake in there at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. Ooh. See how it's glossy? That means it's working. And it will flatten out as it continues to bake. All right, it's been about 20 minutes. Pull her out. Oh yeah. I'm happy with that. Shouldn't take too long to dry. And it's basically all dry. It's just hot as hell right now. It's 400 degree metal. So just let that dry a bit and then we'll toss her in. Let's do these other parts. All right, time for the main guy. Parts turned out amazing. I'm dying to install it. Let's toss it in the car. Oh my God, guys. Look at this freaking trunk setup. That is nuts. A lot of polished aluminum and flat black powder coated parts. It just looks freaking sick. It's exactly what I was imagining. And obviously it's not complete. There's still a bunch more stuff to do. We need to cut a hole in the floor for the intake for the fans. And then obviously the fans are gonna have the louvered design that goes over the trunk lid. Like I said, still need to make the straps. That should be easy. I won't have to pull anything out to do that. But I say we throw the rest of the body panels on here and see what it looks like. Well, what do you guys think of the new trunk setup? Well, here is some information that I wrote down from the good old trusty ChatGPT. I pretty much gave it all the information that I have on this current setup, including the VK swap with the manual transmission and secondary firewall delete. Also including that I did remove the stock tank and I'm planning on relocating the battery to the rear. Here is the information that I received. We'll start with a completely stock G35 Coupe, which comes with a front bias weight distribution of 54 front and 46 rear. Now, after doing the VK swap, it's estimated that we added 200 pounds to the front of this car, which would put the curb weight just under 3,700 pounds, which isn't terrible. Now, to me, that sounds a little bit on the aggressive side because we have removed the secondary firewall and pushed the motor pretty much as far back as we possibly could. Now, there's no way of actually knowing that unless we put this thing on some corner weights, but we'll just go ahead and go with 200 pounds for the VK swap. And with that added weight in the front, that puts us at 56.5 and 43.5 in the rear. Now, generally speaking, that's not bad at all. But keep in mind, I do want to put this car on a track. I want it to handle better than a stock G35 and really to the best of its ability. Now we'll move on to everything that we did in this episode. And it gave me two numbers. And the first number is going to be a conservative one. It said that we've moved and added 236 pounds to the rear. Now notice that I said moved and added. The radiator, battery, and fuel tank have all been relocated. So it's throwing all that into the mix of all the weight that we've added to the rear. And that puts us at 52 front, 48 rear, which makes this thing more rear biased than a stock G35, which is absolutely insane given we have a monstrous V8 in the front. Now the second number is on the aggressive side. It says we moved and added 277 pounds to the rear. And if you do the math, that puts us right at the ideal 50-50 weight distribution. Now when it comes to on-track performance, what's that actually going to do? The number one thing, it's going to improve rear traction, which is going to be super important given the motor we have. The VK56 is a truck engine. It was designed for its low end torque. And up front, it should lighten the load a little bit, making turning better and reducing understeer. But the whole purpose of the rear radiator setup was not just to add weight to the rear. With a custom scoop at the bottom of the car directing air through the radiator and then exhausting air over our louvered vent idea over the rear spoiler, we're able to take some of that dirty air from the bottom of the car that would typically get caught up in our rear bumper, not only creating drag, but also creating some lift. We're able to capture some of that air and then direct it over the trunk lid and down the rear spoiler, which would aid in downforce in the rear and allow this thing to corner and make sharp turns without breaking traction in the rear. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is all snake oil that I'm talking about? Or do you think this thing could potentially handle pretty well? Like I mentioned, the whole downforce thing is all going to be determined on how I make the rear vent. I realize that it can't be just a mesh vent because otherwise it's going to be capturing air and that's going to increase drag and do the opposite of what I want. So like I mentioned, it's going to have to be louvered and there can't be an option for the air to get in between the louvers. It's going to be strictly for exhausting air from under the car, and the fans should help with that as well. So we have tons more parts here: fuel pumps, regulators, filters, and all of our lines and fittings. That along with our deep motor intake, which I secretly installed, that will be in the next video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of the trunk setup. Do you think it's going to be functional and actually do what I planned for it to do, or do you think I just lost trunk space and made this thing less daily drivable? You know, I didn't plan for this thing to be a grocery gator, but it very well can be. There's plenty of room in the rear and the front seats. But besides that, I'm not going to be taking this thing on long trips for vacations. Lastly, don't forget to check out the store. Again, there's a bunch of other stuff besides this design. I know a lot of you guys watching this are Nissan or Infiniti enthusiasts. There's currently 350Zs and GTRs, and there's going to be a lot more in the future. Link will be in the description. I'll catch you all in episode 7.